Welcome, everybody, to another Zaku Talku podcast. This week we're talking about the second part and third part of the Mobile Suit Gundam movies, the compilation film specifically. So, where we going with this, guys? What did you guys think? And go ahead and lead us off.
All right, so we'll be starting off with Soldiers of Sorrow, the second movie. This time around, the White Base has made it down to Earth, and they've made their first encounter with a fairly reoccurring villain of Ramba Ral. He attacks quite often.
Most of the part two.
Half of part two. So Ramba comes off as a fairly honorable soldier. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought that he was kind of in an older way of fighting where honor and respect was seen on both sides of the battlefield, where he kind of shows some leniency towards his foes. If they're not ready, he's not going to attack you off guard. He's gonna fight you one-on-one and expect you to fight the same way.
So basically, he's an honorable foe, from what we've seen. That's best how I would describe him. A man of principles and honor on the battlefield. But he's not afraid to crack a couple pot shots every now and then. But overall, he's probably what I would consider a fairly respectable character, and especially as an antagonist, he's a pretty good antagonist.
We also see that he's a bit of a family man, since his wife seems to be a part of his crew as well.
He tries to use her to get some more information out of Amuro when they first meet. He's kind of dangling her out there, and she notices him first, actually, and he kind of plays along. Like Haman is her name, I believe.
Yeah.
Haman. And she interacts with Amuro, trying to notices him sitting there, and I think she knows he might be from the Federation, and she offers to buy him dinner and stuff, and Ramba goes along with it, and he understands this as well, that Amuro is the enemy, but he also doesn't attack him or do anything to him while he's in like a defenseless state. I think that's where we kind of see that respect for the enemy coming in.
But he is not above following people to his target. As we see after Frabo comes in and leaves, he does order to follow her.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of a sort of cunning thing that he has. Like he'll respect you to your face, but when the time comes, at the end of the day, they're still at war. And so he'll, like I said earlier, he'll take his pot shots, he'll send somebody to follow you, and then once you're out of the neutral zone, he'll definitely not hesitate to strike.
And strike he does.
Multiple times.
Yeah. So he kind of uses Amuro, lets him escape, and it was a tactical move as well because, yeah, like Garcelle said, it kind of follows him back to the White Base. And at this point in the movie, Amuro is kind of just gruntled, and he stole the Gundam and buried it in the sand. When he notices that Ramba Ral's coming up on the White Base, he kind of jumps into action, and that's when their first conflict occurs.
I thought it was funny how leading up to that, Amuro was basically being thrown under the bus by Bright Noah. Him and Mirai, I think it was, were basically kind of talking crap about him and saying that he doesn't listen, he doesn't follow orders, he does whatever he wants, and he's a loose cannon and all this stuff. But what it seemed like to me, just like a couple scenes before that, he was following orders pretty well. In fact, the only thing that he did was pretty much not listen to one thing that Bright said, and that was to take specifically the Gundam into battle. Instead, he decided to opt for the gun tank, which ended up working out. And still, Amuro proved his effectiveness on the battlefield, and everything went positive. But still, they kind of decided to just throw him under the bus. Made Amuro really emotional, and then we end up where with him taking the Gundam and going AWOL as he did.
So in their first conflict, Ramba kind of has a one-on-one with Amuro, and I think here's where you really see Amuro kind of being more how would I say this?
Combat effective?
Yeah, he shows his effectiveness that Char discusses in part one, where he mentions that Amuro's skilled. We don't really see that in part one. We see him using the Gundam to his advantage. But in this specific battle, Amuro's dodging and thinking and finding out what's going to be effective against Ramba Ral and kind of predicting his attack. And that's something that the Gundam itself can't really do. So that is credited. I would credit that to Amuro and not so much the Gundam. And we see Ramba Ral get bested.
I believe this is also the point where he pretty much just goes all scrub coats and says, "You didn't win. I'm the better soldier." And any other moment, I would be. He's a bit of a sore loser in that sense.
Yeah, he definitely is. And being bested by Amuro, he kind of loses a little bit of honor and attacks again later on.
Yeah, that the they were losing. They lost a lot of people, and they decided to just go on full on guerrilla warfare, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost. Ramba lost his suit. I think they only had two Zaku's with them too, and they lost those, I believe, as well. So they had to board the white base and like storm it out of their mobile suit, and it was pretty effective, I think.
Well, the white base is just a bunch of amateurs who have seen no real combat, so they got taken out pretty badly.
Yeah, they were throwing grenades in there, guns, and Ryu Jose gets shot. He takes a bullet.
What a thug.
Yeah, and we also see that Sayla knows Ramba.
Well, technically, Ramba knows Sayla.
Well, they know each other. Yeah, doesn't he refer to her as Artesia?
Yes.
Yeah, so he knows who she is, and she has an alias, and we saw in part one that she knows Char, so connections going on. So it seems like Ramba Raw might have been a mentor or something to her, or family knew the family. So that's interesting to note.
And it was after meeting with Sayla, he got distracted, and Ryu Jose managed to shoot him, and that
And then yeah, and then he kind of kills himself.
yeah, I didn't know how to put it. I didn't just want to say that
So he
he
straps himself with some bombs and jumps off the edge of the white base and gets caught by Amuro. Tells him that he can live, but nope, he blows himself up. Instead of Ron Baral.
long live the Principality of Leon.
That was kind of a quick enter and exit for that character, who seemed like he was going to play a little bit more of a prominent role, but looked like he was a character for a specific arc, and that was kind of. I think the arc was to show Amuro a different side of warfare. Like, you can be kind outside of war and honorable while you fight. We see some growth from Amuro after this.
He definitely was an effective character for in that respect.
Yeah, it made him a lot more manly, in my opinion. And I just, by that I mean, he just is more willing to do things and more willing to understand given situations and step it up for, the entirety of White Base, basically from here on out, which is funny because during the first part, that was kind of a big flaw with his character, especially like when he needs to get slapped by Bright and when he needs to get slapped by Ryu Jose, he's just like wallowing in bed. But we go from that to this, and from here on out, it honestly kind of just gets a lot better for his character.
We do have one more attack by Ramba's faction, though. After Ramba's death, Haman takes the crew and retreats, but then later on just comes right on back with one Zaku, like two planes, and her weird little yellow ship.
Yeah, the big giant like tank thing. We forgot to mention that Amuro's the best.
Oh, I'm the best. It's true. Nobody else can fly it. No one. Just me.
Oh, he gets locked up, and then he
Yeah.
starts crying. I'm the best. I'm the best. You need me. I'm the best. I was like,
Yeah. So that was after his initial confrontation with Ramba, but I just thought I mean, that's a pretty important scene because it kind of shows him wallowing in his own self pity, and it was pretty funny and notable.
We do make fun of that scene, but it does solidify his resolve to be a better pilot. Because once he gets released, he is following orders.
I mean, let's be honest. We remember it also just because it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's true.
Sure, yeah. But getting back to the attack from the Ramba faction,
This was more or less a losing battle with how little they had left. Okay, so Haman is attacking like maybe not even a day after the last attack, so everybody's not prepared yet.
yeah, there's a Ryu Jose is still wounded from the gunshot, so that they're down a gun tank pilot, and there's just a lot of chaos going on because they just had been attacked. So Haman takes this opportunity to just kind of surprise attack them with a small fleet, mostly made up of little jets and stuff and a giant tank.
which distracts Amuro to attacking it because he assumes she's there. However, she's in a plane and gets right behind him.
Yeah. So Amuro, I just want to mention that he seems to have some sort of like connection with Haman. Like he doesn't want to hurt her. He understands that she's doing kind of acting out of necessity, and like she might not necessarily be a bad person.
Yeah, and also there's the kind of her emotional state kind of plays into that, her
Yeah.
wanting to avenge her husband, and that was pretty ballsy. Respect for her on that.
I was gonna say that their initial interaction probably left a good impact on Amuro as to how he feels about Haman.
Yeah. She was kind to him. But like Ursula was saying, she is able to outsmart him and get behind him and potentially take him out.
She was like one inch away from just destroying him.
Yeah. But instead we lose a different character in Ryu Jose, who sacrifices his life.
Pour one out for Ryu Jose.
Yeah, so he sacrifices himself to save Amuro. Amuro's really, really affected by this because this is someone who he's been close to, who's been, with him in every battle, piloting and fighting right alongside him, and now he's gone.
And he takes it out on poor Hayato.
Yeah, he blames Hayato for not for like
Basically strapping him down to a bed and watching him and babysitting him that he wouldn't jump out and go do something reckless, which was kind of absurd.
Yeah, Hayato was fighting himself. I mean, he couldn't really do anything about that.
Which Hayato does say as he's punching Amuro back.
Yeah, it was just like an emotional response, like not knowing what to do. And I mean, it's a pretty effective scene, I think. But that's the first major character loss, I think, that we've experienced so far in terms of like white base crew.
It is the first character to die outside of the many faceless crew members during the guerrilla attack. But the team has no time to grieve. They head off.
Which is something that one of the characters has a problem with, isn't it? Doesn't Amuro kind of get triggered over them?
Oh, Amuro does. Sayla does. They all have issues.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Matilda dies in this battle as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was about to bring that up. That's the one where she dies.
Not yet.
No, I'm pretty sure that a certain individual's notes include Matilda's death in this battle. Yes.
Because they born her and the other ones, including Ryu Jose. Yeah.
Oh, I put them together. My bad.
This guy misleading.
This Haman thing was so short.
No, well, yeah, Matilda bites the dust, and it's kind of confusing because it straight up didn't look like she did, and Amuro's like, "Oh, she's alive," but surprise cuckery, she's not.
After the attack, we see that the Federation has a new type of weapon. The core booster, which is specifically made for new type pilots. So Matilda comes in, bringing the core booster so that White Base can test them out. Very effective. However, Matilda, during the testing, they're fighting off some Dom, and Matilda's plane gets in the way.
Yeah, she goes in to kind of protect them, I guess.
Yeah, doesn't end well for her.
Really odd scene. She gets ejected out. Or it looks like she ejects out. Maybe it's her spirit or something ejecting out. I don't know, because it's like a different color.
We do see it from Amuro's perspective.
Yeah, so Amuro notices, he's like looking for her, and then we just see this like what looks like Matilda ejecting out and find out that she's dead. So there's just an odd scene.
The transition to them basically confirming that she's dead was kind of silly too, just because they don't even like outwardly say it. You just kind of transition to Amuro crying on the ground and not being specific for a couple of seconds. but yeah, that's how we learned that she bit the dust, that she joined the soldiers on the other side, and she and Ryu Jose basically went down like thugs protecting the white base crew and holding true to their ideologies and all that good shiz.
So that is the end of Ramba Rawl's assault and the faction that he was with assault. They obviously failed in their attempts to take out the white base and the Gundam, and the white base moves on to another city, which is at like some port.
I did not catch the name of that city. Did any of you guys do?
No.
So as
Port
they're landing, Port City. So as they're landing, we see a girl typing something on a little keyboard and then sending off a balloon.
Yeah, it looks like she takes some pictures of the white base as it enters.
So we got some civilian spies from the looks of it, as we later see the balloon heading over to Shar.
Yeah, I thought she was taking just like, oh, a cool plane. Let's take some pictures of it. And then she sends it off, and I'm like, oh, never mind. She's not in trade. I thought it was one of those like transition scenes, but it doesn't. Nope.
Yeah, he gives off that impression at first.
So this character is a spy for the Xeon forces, and she kind of uses her girlish charm to try and entice some of the members of the white base to hang out with her, buy something from her, but none of them are having it.
And she's planning to Cosby them, right?
What?
What?
Oh, never mind. I didn't remember that, right?
Oh, jeez. So this character, it tries to just get some information out of them by acting nice and interacting, and she tries it on Amuro, no effect. Even Kai, who kind of previously seems like he's enticed by women with how he acts towards Matilda, is unaffected by
this chick.
yes, is
Yes,
unaffected by her attempts to get information out of him.
Well, yeah, like the guys are just straight treating her like, girl, you don't have the curves, so hit it. Well, don't hit it, and then they just move on.
Oh my god.
And I'm pretty sure the next portion is where Kai comes in, right? And Kai's a pretty easy he's a pretty easy going guy. He's just trying to get something, so he shoots a shot.
No, that's what happened.
Right, so after some failed attempts from the spy, the white base crew head over to I guess a Federation base.
So they each get their rank. They're like kind of a rank up, I guess, or official rankings. And
so somebody was a warrant officer.
Yeah, and they have like a small ceremony for Matilda and Ryu. And Amuro thinks that this is definitely not enough to pay respects for, especially Ryu, who sacrificed himself.
So yeah, he brings up how politicians get named after, have buildings named after them, but Ryu isn't even going to get a statue or anything.
Yeah, and then he dodges a slap.
Dude, yeah, he does dodge that slap. It's pretty funny. And he goes like, he takes a trip around the world and it comes right back to him.
So, but then we also see Kai kind of abandoning the mission, saying that it isn't really his problem. And
like you said, he didn't sign up to be a soldier, so he decides just to abandon ship.
Yep. And
he try to stop him, though.
Yeah, he takes Bright Noah and they try and talk him out of it.
Well, Bright Noah didn't do anything.
No, he doesn't want to talk him out of it, dude. Everybody knows that guy's a little pansy.
He just says
frickin' Kai.
He's no good to us like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's no good to me, dead. Or what is it? He's not down for him. He's not down for him. He just like, get him off of here, get him off my ship, get him off of white base, and get that panty sniffing turd out of here. He's worthless. And which is kind of true. Kai's just like, he's just sharting around, talking crap about everybody, and then he's just barely holding his own.
I think what Jose means to say is that he lacks motivation and resolve for the efforts of the Federation and the white base, and therefore he's not putting his heart into it. So it's his choice ultimately to leave.
Yeah, he's not down for the cause. He's not ride or die.
So after leaving, we see him meet up with the girl again. We learn her name is Miharu.
And she also has two younger siblings who she's taking care of. And I thought this part kind of showed some of the effects of the war Although it's not outright stated, you can kind of assume that something happened during the war
That cost their
that,
parents.
yeah,
Then Miharu has to step up and basically act as
provide.
an enemy spy just to provide for them.
Yeah, and I mean that might be why she's helping Xeon. Maybe the Federation did something or to her parents or let something happen that caused a conflict, or maybe they're the ones that offer her money. But ultimately, she has to now provide for two kids, her and herself, and this is the only way that she could find to do it. And I think Kai realizes that as well. Like her intentions aren't necessarily bad. It's just the cause of the situation that she's in. Doesn't he find her piece?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, he's like sniffing around, and then she finds that she's strapped and ready to go.
So, but he's not too worried about it.
he goes ahead and tells her when the base is leaving.
Yeah, which she relays to Shar and his little squadron of act guys.
Does this thing that good?
Huh?
I thought there was something else.
No, there's some act guys, isn't there?
Yeah, later on there's some.
Oh, I'm pretty sure there was a couple then too. Regardless,
Shar then orders Miharu to board the white base and basically just act as a spy while on there.
and Kai sneaks her in as like some. What does he say? She's his girlfriend or something.
Yeah. He's
She
like,
mentions
"Yo,
that
check out this,"
Oh,
and
rather don't start again, please.
no, but he's
I'm not hitting.
okay, for real though. He's just like showing her off, and the guys that on the white base are like, "Oh, okay, cool. Just don't do anything crazy and keep her out of the important places."
Amaru's the only one who sees her.
Yeah. So Amuro notices her, and he kind of plays along with Kai.
He does ask if she's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Kai, I don't think Kai really agrees, says that she is, but she mentions that she is just a local girl that needs to get the job role. Which, again, I would like to point out, Charo is in South America. Why does a girl who lives in a port city need to go to South America?
For the warm winters. So this leads, since she relayed that information to Shar, he's able to group up and assault the white base as it is in the port still. And we see Kai kind of get back into action. He's ready to go. Pilots a little ship into the conflict.
She feels bad about what she did, so she joins Kai on that ship.
Kai is trying to shoot missiles at a mobile suit, and it locks up. Miharu decides she's going to help out because she's the one who caused the conflict. Goes out and ejects one of the missiles, and in doing so, flies off the ship and ends up dying.
And Kai does not notice it up until he arrives back on base. Well, takes it very hard.
Yeah, he's like in love with her after like a day.
Hey, this is Gundam. They fall in love very quickly.
But anyways, it kind of strengthens his resolve. Kind of makes the decision to stay with the white base and stay on board and help the Federation fight off the Xeon. So, I mean, this arc was really about Kai and his development. And I kind of like how the series is doing that, where it's showing characters experience loss and hardship and then grow from it. And so far, that's happened with Amuro and now Kai.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
glad it's doing that with mostly the characters that I think are crappy because it's making the overall experience a lot more enjoyable. Like if they stayed the way that they were, I'd probably just be sitting around and grouching and be like, Amuro sucks and Kai sucks. But I mean, Kai is not that bad now. But I mean, I still don't really like him. But that is neither here nor there. Kai is improving as a character, and that's what's important.
This is Garcelle's favorite character.
Yeah, definitely.
So how did you feel about Kai during this arc?
Well, Kai starts out as a very, what's the word for it?
Opportunistic jerk.
I'd rather go with asshole. Starts as an asshole, bit of a coward. We want to be in here. The whole reason he leaves because.
Yeah, you're damn right. Yeah, roast the shit out
Or peasant. But upon meeting Miharu, he realizes like, hey, shit's pretty bad. Decides to join back up, loses his love, and then just fully resolves to keep fighting. So I thought it was a good arc.
Jaburo.
So once they leave the port city, which we never got the name of, They head down to South America to Jaburo, which is the main base of the Federation. And it's there that it gets kind of awkward because we meet up with Matilda's fiance.
Amuro acts mature,
He does.
which is surprising. And he's,
We say mature, but he's pretty down on himself for not being able to help her.
yeah, and he, tries to express his sorrow to the, not sorrow, I guess condolences to the husband or the prospecting husband.
The
And
fiance.
yeah, and I mean the fiance is taking it way easier than Amuro. He's kind of like, she made that choice, and that was her decision to go out there, and we just have to respect it and move on.
Mm.
Which is a weird take, but
I mean, he was like pretty sympathetic about it too, because he was like, you know what, she loved everyone, she held White Base to high esteem and respected everybody, and cared about you guys genuinely, and she went out in her, in a blazing glory of her beliefs and ideologies and believing in all of you guys. So it was good. It was an honorable death, but we move on and we got to keep fighting for her basically and for what we believe in.
Yeah, being soldiers, they probably at some point would have expected something.
It comes with the territory.
Pretty much. So it's here where they get a bit of downtime. They're getting tested to see if anybody on the crew is a new type.
yeah, and didn't they say Amuro was in there? Is he in there the longest or the shortest? Yeah, that's what I thought. Which indicates that he might have some abilities. Whereas,
from what we've seen, it's been very clear that there's something up with.
Yeah, and during our time in Jaburo, we also meet a new character, Slager.
Oh boy, Slager!
So Slager is one of Jose's favorite characters in the entirety of the Gundam universe up to this point. Jose, would you like to talk about Slager?
All right. Well, this guy keeps his pan strong. He keeps his chin up high. This guy's he's a walking Chad. This guy's just got everything going for him. I'm just kidding, though. I really don't like him, but I was just going with what you were saying. Continue.
Slager comes off as quite
a dick.
That too.
Yes.
He's hitting on Mirai. He's hitting on Sayla. He's saying how much he's gonna enjoy being on White Base.
And he's also, he's just arrogant, cocky. He's a character who's really full of himself, and I think he's meant to be disliked. And so
you would think that maybe he comes in like, "Hey, we don't like this guy." Right? The audience will be like, "Hey, we don't like this guy." Then later on, build up to like,
and then later on, they'll be like, "Hey, we still don't fucking like this guy."
But anyways, while they're getting checked out, not by Slager, by the Federation to be new types, we see the kids.
I thought you were about to talk about the girls. Like, okay, they don't want to know about getting checked out. But,
Throughout the time at the base, we see the kids just running around everywhere,
disobeying everyone, not listening to Frau, not listening to pretty much anybody.
Yeah, they end up leaving into like some cave system, which we then see that hey, there's an Act guy around.
And we also see some new mobile suits that look kind of like the Gundam and the gun cannon fuse.
Yeah, so we see the GMs, however you want to pronounce them.
And we're not the only ones who see them because Zeon sees them as well.
Can we go back to the GMs real quick? Did they ever mention that they were making these?
No. Well, as far as I remember, no. They don't.
Yeah, so that's a surprise for all of us.
Yeah, so we're just surprised. We just see this row of fully built mobile suits that are sitting in the Jaburo base.
Well, just sitting there primed for being exploded.
Which is what Char's plan is, as he attempts to place some bombs in the area to blow them up.
Yep. They discover the kids and then tie them up right next to them.
Yeah, so they don't care. They're going to blow up some kids.
The casualties of war.
However, the kids, though, They come in clutch. They manage to escape their binds and then pick up all the bombs. And this just they start driving this little jeep and just zoom it outside the building.
Yeah, they get caught by Amuro but and Kai, but they're ready to assist them. They just pick them up and let the bombs explode outside. So the bombs get taken care of, and Char's forces decide to assault the base of Jabro with their mobile suits. Char piloting a red Akai, which is a small. I would describe it as looking like a kind of a mole-looking
Yeah.
suit, and with a group of other ones. And we see Amuro's skills shine again as he's able to best Char, who is an ace pilot and regarded as one of the top Xeon pilots, and the reason why they're so effective. Interesting to see Amuro just kind of make easy work of him.
Yeah, Amuro just his skills just keep showing.
Yeah, and Char knows that he's going to keep improving. But Char realizes that he's been nested and
He also
escapes.
loses an arm.
Yeah, he loses an
His
arm.
mobile suit loses an arm, specifically.
Yeah, the guy. And he retreats.
Tactical retreat.
Mm-hmm. And that is where part 2 concludes.
There is a small scene that the Federation gives Bright Noah their next mission to basically just be decoy, which makes sense since everybody's after the Gundam.
And they're heading to space.
As they head into space, we head into part 3. So movie 3 is called Encounters in Space, since it mostly takes place in space. So apt name.
That is true, and there are multiple encounters with various characters, both new and old.
Mostly Char.
Yeah, this is a Char centric a little bit, which is nice. But it's also, I mean, it builds on Amuro's character. He's the main character, and we've just got to see him grow more, and we've seen him develop into a really battle-hardened kind of kid.
Well, as they're heading over to Site 6, they get into a small little fight, small little scrap, and Amuro just completely destroys almost every opposing, almost single-handedly, really. Takes out a ship just by dabbing its engine.
Yeah, I don't know if the Gundam's like super effective in space, but it's taking out suits left and right, ships, everything is just falling to Amuro. Xeon is not happy about that.
So I mentioned Site 6, and that's their. As they land in Site 6, we learned that is a neutral zone. So no fighting, no nothing.
Yep, and we also find out the news that Amuro's father is alive, which at first comes off as kind of like maybe he's hallucinating, or maybe some weird new type thing is happening to where he's seeing his father, and it turns out that no, his father is actually alive.
With some quirks.
Yep.
Is that the part that you're referring to? Like, is that the part where he sees him at the bus?
Yeah, and then he follows him, and he's acting all wet.
Yeah, he's got a screw loose at this
Yep.
point.
Amuro mentions that it's possibly oxygen deprivation.
So he sees his dad on the bus. At least he thinks it's his dad initially. He follows him, and he follows where the bus stops. He sees the man get off, and then actually finds out that that's actually his dad, which kind of took me for a loop because I like you guys thought. I thought it was like a hallucination or something, or he just happened to follow somebody that was a complete rando, but just kind of looked like his dad from the side. But yeah, it's his dad. And it was, yeah, some shit ensues, and some stuff starts to click to Amuro in the things that his dad's saying. He's just kind of flipping out left and right. He's saying things that are somewhat coherent, but at the same time, not really because they don't actually make sense or they're not relevant, and he's not taking into account that Amuro's right there, his son, and
He probably hasn't seen in months.
yeah, who he hasn't seen in months, has had multiple life and death encounters, and his dad's just like, "Oh, you're here, and you can test out some new crap for the Gundam that I've made, and all this stuff." And
which Amuro notices right off the bat. It's just a piece of junk.
Yeah.
So his dad thinks that he's been working on new advancements for the Gundam this whole time, when in actuality he's just been cobbling together useless material, and he's gotten a little loopy.
Yeah, Amuro points out that it's oxygen deprivation.
Yeah, from when their home exploded.
Size 7.
Yep. And so I think Amuro then realizes that his
dad's far gone. Like,
his dad's
probably no.
there's no coming back from it. And instead of frustrating his dad by hanging out and making him think that he's not putting the effort into the Gundam and stuff, he decides to leave his dad to his own devices, I guess.
Which is kind of sad because he just kind of leaves him there. Like, I felt bad about when he left his mom, but at least his mom is in one piece and doing something like with her life that she believes in. But his dad's just like, he's there basically sick and alone and just doesn't really have anything going for him. I mean, I guess it's okay in the sense that he doesn't realize there's something wrong with him, so it's like one of those ignorance is bliss kind of situations. But it's still really sad because it really hits Amuro, and although he like does well to bounce back from it and continue on with his war struggles and realizations of that, it still hurts him. And like expected.
Yeah, and I think this was kind of to show the last bit of his past life being cut out, aside from maybe like Frau. But um, his dad was the last thing from his previous life that was kind of still a mystery and hanging out there. He didn't know if he was alive or dead, and he had already made amends with his or resolved the situation with his mom, or his own resolve, and now he was able to do that with his dad and fully dedicate himself to the white base because there's no home to come back to.
So Amuro handles it better than what you would assume with after watching part 1.
Yeah, showing his maturity and development.
Right. He is still distraught about it. He kind of wanders off after a while, trying to escape the rain. He meets somebody.
Yeah, and this is a new character that we haven't seen before. Looks like she looks like I would describe her as an Indian woman. She's got the little dot on her forehead and dark hair. Huh?
Does she?
Yeah.
Oh, I never.
Yeah. So, that's kind of interesting because I like how this show you see a lot of different races and stuff, and that's pretty cool. Because I mean, if they did all go to space and stuff, it just wouldn't be one group of people. It'd be a lot of people.
Yeah, it wouldn't. It's not like space is full of nothing but white people. There's races and creeds of all kinds, and you would assume that humanity would have made some kind of coalition to make the advancements that they did to get to space.
So Amuro decides to talk to her because she notices her and has nothing else to do in the rain. Yeah,
the boy is hitting on her.
Yeah, Amuro's shooting his shot. He's kind of vibing with her. He sees she's chilling, so he's like trying to make his approach. Not it's in a subtle way. He's not trying to come on too strong, but he's just making small talk. And she like jumps straight into it. She's like, "Yo, I'm not interested in you," and then they start talking and they hit it off. Not like in a romantic way, but like they start having a pretty good conversation, and they have some camaraderie, and it's just a good interaction. It's nothing toxic. She doesn't come off as hostile to him at all.
And she just gets up and runs away.
Yeah, she sees like a swan or something and takes off.
Yeah, I guess she kind of pea-brained it there, but it is what it is.
Spirit.
She has a free spirit.
That's what we're calling it.
All right, so after we meet this girl who is named Lala.
Lala Soon.
Amuro's driving around and encounters what looks to be Char.
Okay, can I mention real fast? The little buggy he's driving looks like Speed Buggy from the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I want to put that back in there.
Wait, Speed like is the kid that races with the monkey and all
No,
that?
Speed Buggy.
No.
Oh.
That little car with the face. That was like Scooby Doo, but not Scooby Doo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
So,
It clicked.
there's like an Amuro's car kind of has a issue.
He gets in a bit of a mud spot. He gets
Yep.
stuck in the mud.
And Char comes out to help him. And Amuro knows that this is Char, and Char knows that this is Amuro. But again, like the interaction with Ramba Raw in the previous movie, it's pretty civil outside of the mobile suits.
Yeah, you can tell that Amuro was a lot more nervous than when he was dealing with Rom.
Yeah. And
Literally points out that you should try not to be so nervous around a enemy officer.
and we also see that Lala Soon is with Char in the car.
The
So there's something going on with them.
Much to Amuro's dismay.
Yeah. Because now she might be an enemy. So Amuro and Char's interaction goes down pretty civilly, like I said.
In a sense, anticlimactic.
Yeah, they don't really do anything. Amuro's just kind of talking in his head about, oh, this is Char.
I know you.
Yeah, you
Will
know
I,
it's
won't
me.
I? Destroy him, I mean, and all this kind of stuff.
So we also did we forget to mention that Mirai has a fiance, or is this the first time it's brought up?
This is the first time we bring it up because I forgot actually.
Yeah.
No, but was it brought up like in general
Yeah,
before?
I think
It
it was
was,
brought up
wasn't
in
it?
part 2. Yeah.
Yeah, cause that was when Bright got triggered, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Slager hits on Mirai and she's like, oh, yeah, fiance.
Yeah, she was just like, oh, it's in vain.
So after a little bit, they kind of need to leave the Side 6, and there's Xeon Force just waiting right outside for them. So Mirai's fiance, that I do not remember the name of, he doesn't
We
play a big
forgot to
role.
bring up.
We'll just call him Glasses, because that's the only thing I remember. That I swear he's the only character that wears them too. So Glasses basically starts trying to act all macho because Mirai's been like pooping on him this whole time. She's like, "You're not a man," and all this kind of stuff.
God.
Well, she's just
She doesn't.
uninterested in him.
Yeah, she doesn't. She's not vibing with him. She doesn't like him really. She thought he was a coward and all this other stuff.
I mean, she also doesn't want him putting himself in danger trying to escort them outside the safe zone.
Yeah, but because she doesn't believe like his intentions are like genuinely good for the cause, she just thinks that he's trying to be all macho in front of me, basically, just to get me to like him. So she doesn't have any real respect for him at the moment. But he's like trying. He's like, yo, just let me take you guys out there, and so they don't shoot you guys down. They're not gonna shoot me down because we're not technically affiliated with you guys. But so he wants to risk it like that. Mirai is really against it, and everybody is like for it except her. But then Slager decides to come in, and he decides to live up to almost his name and Slugger. Uh, Slugger with the backside of his hand,
Sir,
and then he's just like, this is how you treat a woman or get her in line or something like that. And first off, it was messed up. Like this guy, his game is shit's fucked up. He's like slapping her. He's talking down on her, and she's like, you need to show a man respect and all this kind of stuff, and she's just aghast, and so is everybody else. But nobody decides to even like try to say anything or even like it's silly. It's silly, and I couldn't believe that actually happened, and I couldn't believe what transpired of that.
like
We'll get to it when we get to it, but or should we just
we'll,
get to it right now?
no, we'll be back to this little moment.
Okay.
Yeah, so we find out that Slager is a massive tool, and he has zero respect for anybody, but especially women, I guess. And he is just he just keeps stacking on the things to not like about him. And this
Yeah,
pretty big.
you know what? And the thing that's kind of sad is I think Glasses was starting to buy into his crap.
Oh my god.
He's like, oh, this is the way. But it's not. But I mean, I guess it ended up being. But whatever, we'll get to that.
Alright, so as they're leaving port, there's a Xeon ship just waiting for them. Nobody's firing because, neutral zone. But everybody's just getting ready. And then after a bit, the fireworks start going off. And it's
And the
again,
battle ensues.
and it's almost one-sided because Amuro and the Gundam are just destroying,
They're just cleaning up house. It's target practice.
pretty much.
Without Char there to check Amuro, there's really nothing holding him back from destroying everything. Like, this one suit is just so powerful, and the pilot of the suit is just so capable that, I mean, it's all they really need. He's the Char of the Federation side.
Yeah, it's true.
He's their ace,
Yep.
which is
He's
kind
a
of
kid.
sad. But still.
We did point out in part 1 that the Federation's making an entire crew of complete amateurs and newbies pilot the white base.
Yeah. It's just odd because you'd think that they'd have more resources and stuff since, I mean, they have the Earth and most of the colonies under their control.
So you would assume that they're the bigger faction with bigger manpower. Yeah, we did establish kind of earlier on that in general, up until the Gundam itself, Zeon was technologically superior. But then the Gundam comes, and then it's just completely flipped. And I guess there's literally nothing that can match it. And still, the Federation doesn't have anything else to offer. There's like no people, there's no other weapons to contribute. It's just white base pretty much carrying the entirety of the Federation.
Yeah, and they have to keep upgrading their suits, and Amuro just stays in his one. But before that, like, we didn't see any other suits. I mean, the Federation didn't have anything. They had the Gundam and that's it. Whereas the Xeon Forces had like a lot of Zaku's.
The Zaku's, the Doms, the Act guys.
Yeah. So we've seen several suits from the Xeon Forces, but only pretty much the Gundam, and then the two failed versions of it, the Gun Cannon
Gun
and the
Tank
Gun
and
Tank.
Gun Cannon. Yeah.
We also just recently saw the gyms back at Jawboro.
Yeah, but they haven't really done anything yet, so it's just interesting to point out that they're although they seem to have a lot of suits, it seems like 3 suits on the Federation side are taking out everything else.
One in particular, though.
Yeah.
That Gundam.
Well, so getting back to it, they won like quickly. Then we get a quick little scene with the Zabi family. Giran is talking to his
Crycelia.
sister, Crycelia and Dozler. They're being siblings, talking about their plans. The one thing that I do want to bring up is that their father, Degwin Zabi, he's talking with somebody. I do not recall who, but he mentions bringing up a peace treaty with the Federation. It doesn't get explored a lot, but it is interesting that he brought it up.
Yeah, so it seems like Degwin Zabi's kind of coming to terms with the fact that they're probably gonna either lose, or if they win, it's gonna be at the cost of a lot of resources and a lot of people that it's not really worth the effort. So it'd be better to propose a peace. Then we transition to the fun Texas colony.
I loved how they explained the Texas colony. It's a barely inhabitable desert region. So Texas.
Yep, just like where it's heading now.
Wasn't it like an amusement
It
park
was
or
supposed to be a
something?
life animal preserve.
But so it was just
but there are people living there apparently.
Yeah, but when we go into it, it's like it's a wasteland.
Yeah, there's a bunch of minefields in the air, and then there's mines in the ground.
But Char is here.
And also Lala, which we learn more about their relationship, or their one-sided relationship.
Yeah, so Lala definitely has some feelings for Char, but at this point, it doesn't seem like Char really does, or if he does, it's manipulative.
He does straight out say that I like you for your powers.
Hey,
Or
at least he's being honest. And he's still giving her lip service, so kissing her. That's what I mean.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Lala senses Amuro when he enters Texas Colony. So Amuro gets sent in pretty much to scope out the area, and then later on everybody else would be thrown in. But as soon as he enters, Lala senses him, but she thought it was Char instead of Amuro because the feeling she was getting was warm, friendly, not that of an enemy.
So I guess Amuro is warm and not an enemy. I mean, they weren't when they met. They were pretty civil with each other, so makes sense.
Amuro engages into a small fight with Char, who I believe is piloting is he piloting the Gelgoog at this point?
Yeah, the time around we see the Gelgoog, which how many
He's
suits
been in three. He's been in 3 suits so far, and each of them have been easily tested by
the Yak guy, the
not the
Gelgoog.
Gelgoog.
His loyalty to his mobile suits is just as bad as his loyalty to people.
Hey, his loyalty to the color red though.
Yeah, his suits are pretty sick, color-wise.
True. Well, he is the Red Comet.
I wonder if that's a personal choice or if they just decided to give it.
They're like, well, he likes red, so red's as good as color as a comet. So
As he's engaging with Char tries to tactical nuke him. He gets a 25 kill streak and calls it in, and
Char goes on and says that nothing could survive that nuke.
Yeah, except for the Gundam, which miraculously survives almost unscathed.
Amuro's also surprised about that.
God damn, that thing is so overpowered.
And Lala also apparently is able to survive a nuke because the only thing protecting her from the nuke is the fingers of the Gelgoog, which
really the entire body of the Gelgoog.
Okay, so we're making this clear that Lala in base form matches the Gundam. They can tank a tactical nuke.
So, I mean, at least the radiation or something should have affected her, but maybe the suits they're wearing prevent that.
I don't think Lala was wearing a suit.
Yeah, she wasn't wearing a helmet, I don't think. At least. But
dude, it's 100%, dude. She can tank that in base form, dude. That's impressive. Lala is a special type of new type.
You don't even know what a new type is either.
So Sayla notices that there's some sort of feeling she gets, and she goes on to Texas Colony as well. And Bright Noah's kind of tapped into her receiver and overhears her discussing with Char how she's kind of disappointed in him and stuff.
This is also the part where we learn Char's actual name.
Yes, Cosbal Daikun. And this is the point when she's talking about how Char might be out, or Char's out for revenge, and this not like him and stuff. So she's trying to change his mind on the whole situation that they're in.
So Char does bring up at that point with Sayla to leave White Base so she doesn't get in any danger. So she's not an enemy to Char.
Oh, he leaves her a bunch of money too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's like funding her vacation.
He sends a letter to Noah, pretty much.
Yeah. So Bright finds out that they're related, but he believes in Sayla's allegiance to the cause and doesn't really punish her or anything, even though she could potentially be a spy. He kind of realizes that that's not the case.
Pretty trusting of him, which is kind of nice. Like, he believes in his people and his crew, and even though he didn't, believe in Amuro at first, but still, he trusts them. I mean, as long as they're not Amuro, but yeah.
And then we're back to another battle.
Yep. Their main plan was to reach up to Solomon. Oh, what was Solomon? It was like an asteroid base.
I think so.
But it was one of the main strongholds for the Zeon.
Yeah.
Under the command of what was his name?
Dozel Zabi, who looks messed up. He looks like Degwin.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy looks like Ganondorf from The Legend of Zelda.
He definitely looks like, if you pictured a villain, that's he.
But we find out that he's got a wife and kid, and he is
He is very
kind of
caring.
just dumb. He's just a little like dumb. He doesn't. Well, it's because he. So Dozel comes across as a character who's he's caring, he's kind, he has a wife, he has a kid. Obviously, I mean he's got to have some compassion. He's thinking of them first in this
He,
situation, making them.
before the fight ensues, he does order them to leave.
He doesn't want any harm to come to them. And it kind of seems like he's just doing this because he's been influenced by his father, maybe his siblings, maybe some sort of pride that's compelling him to act the way he's acting, which is ruthless towards the
He was pretty
Federation.
honorable too, because from what I remember is that he was also telling his men to leave, like his crewmates and like the guys under him. He was telling them to leave, and he didn't want them to basically be getting hurt because of what was about to happen. He was assuming complete responsibility of everything and ready to face everything by himself. But they're loyal. If I they stayed with him, didn't they? Or did they
He
leave?
wanted to, but he
They
just
made
straight.
him leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he pilots the mobile armor Big Zam.
Oh, Big
Wait,
Yeah. Big
so
Zam.
so Big Zam is not. I mean, in the movies, he didn't really look that much bigger. He kind of looked like a small ship.
Oh, he still looks big.
He was supposed to be an impervious mobile armor, and he, for the most part, was, except for he had a weak point on the underside. So he's coming in there. He's charging the Federation. He's ready to take out Dozel, piloting the Zam. Is ready to take out as much people as he possibly can. And like Jose was saying, he orders his men to leave the Zam so that they can escape, and he can sacrifice himself to try and take out as many people as possible.
The man was ready to die.
Yes, and we then pan to the inside of the White Base, where we have an interaction with Mirai and Bright, where Bright kind of senses that Mirai is worried about somebody, and we find out that the individual is Slager.
So we had no build up to this at all. The last time these two have interacted was the slap, which going forward, we've dubbed the slap of love.
God damn it! I can't believe this worked. It was fucking crazy, dude.
Oh my god!
Like she's straight turned on by it. I can't even believe it. Like Mirai was thinking about it. She was dreaming about Slager, and it's clear as day. And Bright even brings it up. He's like, "Yo, I know what you're thinking about, and go see him." I thought she was gonna go see somebody in like the sick bay or something, and then she ends up going to Slager, and he's like sweet talking her. He's like, "Oh, I'm just a bad boy, and you deserve better," and all this crap. And then she's like, "No, you're exactly what I want." This coming from the dude that just slapped the shit out of her. Like, are you kidding? I can't believe it. This guy was right. This guy was fucking right. He was like, he's like, you gotta slap the girls to get them to know what they want, and it's exactly that. And I couldn't believe it. I lost a little bit of respect for Mariah, and I couldn't believe they freaking wrote this. Like, but it happened. It is what it is. And Mariah is just fiending for Slager now. But what can you do? So lead us through this, guys. What happened?
So
Okay, that's right. He lays it down. He lays it down on Mariah even more. He's grabbing her face and he's teasing her, and she's just like she's ready to bust right now, and I can't believe it. And he lays it on her. He kisses her, and he's like making out with her, and she's just like in love with him, head over heels for this guy, and God, God damn it, he's just like he slapped her. He slapped the love into her. He slapped her silly, and she just her head ended up in I don't even know where, but it ended up in his heart, or that slap made it all the way down to her heart, and she was just like feeling him, and I couldn't believe it. Anyway, so they're having this tender moment, and then we move on Slager's about to do something crazy. At least that's what it's building up to. And I'm excited. I'm like, yo, if this guy goes, please, because I just need to see Mirai just suffer something right now because this is nuts. This is crazy. Slager, Slager, mother.
Okay,
Anyway, take it away, guys.
so I don't know if this is a result of us watching the compilation films. Maybe there's more buildup that just got cut out, but it does come out of
Hopefully.
nowhere. It does come out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
because when Bright mentions that she's worried about somebody and to go see him, I was like, what? Who? Her husband? What? And it's Slager out of nowhere. And I really do think this is a fault of the compilation films that it cuts out some of these interactions that might be necessary to understand and get some context as to what exactly is going on. Because maybe with that context, we'd be able to understand why Mirai fell for Slager. But as the way it was presented in the film, it's out of the blue and it doesn't make any sense. And it kind of is frustrating because up till this point, all he's done is slap her and, talk to her like an object.
That's basically been their only interaction.
He slapped her and told her what she wanted, and it's like she listened.
Listen,
So he also gives her like his mom or something's ring,
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
his
that's
most
what it
precious
was.
item.
he does.
Jesus.
He tells her to keep it safe for him, and that his mom would have liked her getting it.
It's really odd. It's just out of nowhere.
I mean, that scene would have been nice if there was build up.
Build up.
But
Yeah.
again, the last thing we saw of these two interacting was the slap of love.
It wasn't even a
So
real slap of love. He wasn't vibing with her. He wasn't feeling her. He was just like, yo, this is how you get your girl in check. Like that's so disrespectful. It's like and to transition from that to this.
especially to such a like respectable character up to this point that Mirai was, it's just really odd. But so
Last,
Slayer heads out.
yes,
Does he go on a core booster? Is that what I remember?
yes, he's currently the pilot of the core booster.
Yeah. So he takes a core booster out to assist Amuro in fighting the Big Zom, and I think he's actually the one that notices the weakness of the Zam, and he goes in to distract and focus the Zams on himself, and in doing so, sacrifices himself.
He does. He goes out in a blaze of glory. Slager will be missed.
Yeah, it's a blaze of glory because he's gone finally. God damn, this guy, he was just a headache. He's just frustration. He was just oozing ass. Just bad. This guy was cringe, but he was funny. I will give him that. I will give him extra points for being memorable, at the very least.
So in his distraction works, and Amuro is able to get the up on the Zam and take it out with one slash of his beam saber. And Dozel ejects, and we see this weird aura.
He goes on top of the big Zam with a machine gun and just starts firing. But yeah, as you mentioned, there's this weird aura that comes out. We don't know if Amuro is the only one that sees it. Well, Amuro is probably the only one that sees it, but we don't get an explanation as to. Amuro mentioned maybe it's his ancestors or something. But no, this thing just shows up, looks like a bat, and we never see it or talk about it, which again might be another failing of the compilation.
And then we see the Federation setting up some mirrors and launching some sort of beam at the attacking fleet and just eradicating everything.
They targeted specifically a port, and they just like decimated that area. Like no one even knew what it was really, because they couldn't even pick up any kind of particle, so it wasn't a particle cannon.
Yeah, and this is after Cassilia comes in to try and assist.
Yeah, Chrysilla and Char was also. They were both heading over to assist, but they never got there.
Yeah.
At least not in time. The Solomon base was taken by the Federation.
And we see that the weapons are getting more and more powerful on either side, and they're bringing out new toys. Play with the lives of their
The
True.
disrespect.
And going off with playing games with their soldiers, we see another short scene with Girin Zabi and Degwin Zabi, where we learn that Girin has a solar cannon that he wants to fire, and Degwin Zabi is just straight up like, dude, no, that's probably going to displace a bunch of our soldiers. Do not do that. But no, Girin is just like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And then Degwin Zabi compares his own son to Adolf Hitler.
Yes. And gives
And
Garen a little history lesson on Hitler.
he's like proud of it.
I do like that Girin mentions that he was from the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
The Middle
Dagwin
Ages.
Dagwin tells him, which is an important line, that people like that often get betrayed.
And boy, oof.
Boy, did he get betrayed. Right in his face, basically.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, so there's a couple more confrontations between the Xeon forces and the Federation, and in them we see Lala piloting a ship because Char has been instructed to go out there and be the ace that he is and take out the Federation and the Gundam. He's focused on the Gundam specifically, but he's not necessarily tasked with taking that out only. And
Char has his priorities.
He does. And he also hates the Zabi family, so whatever they say, he really just disregards.
True.
And so we see Lala piloting a ship, and we see that she's able to control these beams with her mind. These little
precursors to the GN fangs, or the funnels.
Yeah, so they're funnels. And she's able to control them with her new type abilities, have them surround Amuro and shoot, but he's
Amuro's
a pro.
Amuro's dodging.
Yeah, he's dodging.
Like
he's dodging.
Taking them out.
And taking them out. And he tries to get Lala onto his side.
Yeah, they're talking through some little new type psychic link.
Yeah, this was
apparently they can do.
Yeah, they got their exclusive private chat for them, basically, for their new types. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Amuro's not psychedelically.
It was trippy.
Trying to convince Lala to join their side or to at least stop fighting. And he says that they understand each other and that he knows that this isn't the right way and that they wish they could be together and not have to fight. And it's really odd sequence. I couldn't tell if it was a romantic thing because he says that he like loves her and stuff, or if it was like a new type kind of understanding love kind of situation.
Well, we've established that love kind of just happens, so I want to say that it was probably somewhat romantic.
At least their love makes more sense than Slager and Mirai.
Yeah.
So,
Amuro was also fighting Char during this psychic connection as well.
He's multitasking, dude. He's flexing right there. He's destroying those things, and he's also chatting it up with Lala, and he's fighting with Char. That's pretty cool.
I wouldn't say Amuro is dominating, but he is handedly winning this match.
Yeah, well, there is an instance where he's distracted and Char's about to take him out, but Sailor comes in.
Sailor with the
Lala, and Lala points out that that's Char's sister, and he narrowly doesn't strike it.
Then Amuro takes the opportunity to actually go in for the kill. With kudos to Amuro, though. He takes the opportunity. However,
it does not work out. I'm pretty sure this is where she takes his place, right?
Yeah, she jumps into the to the saber.
She jumps into She gets pierced in place of Char. She takes it admirably.
But Amuro does not. Amuro is extremely distraught by what
both
just happened.
Him and Char are taken aback by it.
Char is emotionally damaged by this as well. We see him flying off, retreating, and a tear streaks down his face, showing that there probably was a bit more connection than what Char was leading on to. He might have actually had some really deep feelings for Lala that he just wasn't expressing to her.
I don't doubt that he did, but at the same time, like I don't think it's impossible for him to be using her, but at the same time still caring about her. Because it definitely did seem like they had that kind of connection, and also, just being able to have that kind of connection that she did with Amuro, it leaves, there's room for someone to be able to say that her and Char had more or less the same thing.
Yeah, and Char could have been just, keeping her at a distance so that if he died, she wouldn't, be as affected because he knows that emotions affect new types differently because he himself is one.
Which is good to know because I feel like they never really confirm it, but then I think they just outwardly
Yeah,
say it at one point.
there's a couple times where they say it, but
All right, so this little scuffle it delayed White Base from meeting up with the rest of the Federation. We're pretty much discussing their next attack on Abaoku. It is at this point that we see Duke Dagan showing up and wanting to discuss a peace treaty.
yes, so he is able to make contact with the Federation, and they notify them that he's coming over to try and set up a peace. But at that exact moment, Yuren Zabi decides to take matters into his own hands and fires off the reflector cannon, wiping out the majority of the Federation fleet and his own father.
Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
Well, he lives up to the name.
And that it's the same type of cannon that was used over at Solomon by the Federation. But this thing just significantly more powerful because it just wiped out an entire.
Yes, and luckily the White Base was not there to experience that. But the new types on the base did realize that something terribly wrong had happened and that a lot of people were wiped out. Specifically, Amuro and Sayla were the most affected by it.
Mira,
Yeah, it's funny. It kind of reminded me of a very Star Wars moment, and when Obi-Wan senses Alderaan getting blown up.
Yeah, it is reminiscent of that. Now it's coming upon the final conflict where Kycilia, Giran, Char are gearing up to fight off the Federation and Amuro specifically from taking over Abawaku, which is their last stronghold. And Char gets a new suit again.
The Xiong.
I would say this is the ugliest suit he's gotten. It's not even red.
Yeah, this is by far the worst suit he has. It's called the Xeon. It's
That thing looks like a chess piece.
yeah, it's like a floating torso with a little tiny head and these weird like finger cannon arm things.
They're detachable, which is cool, but thing's ugly.
But they're detached by a wire.
That's still cool.
But we also there's a cool piece of dialogue that they leave in for some reason where he's Char's talking to an engineer and they mention that it doesn't have any legs because it doesn't need any legs in space, and that was pretty funny. At least they explained it, and I don't know if anyone wants to take a look, but there is a model kit, a Bandai Gundam model kit where they made the legs for the Sion. And
I remember I looked up Zeong once, and there was actually a picture of him with legs.
Yeah,
so
there's
I don't know if it was like something.
So basically, did it look like a mobile suit with a skirt?
Yeah, I mean it looked a lot better. But so he gets a new suit, and they mentioned that it is made for new types, but Char's on the weaker side of new types, and it's been adjusted for him.
It's also, as far as we know, the only new type
since Lala was taken out. Yes.
Oh yeah.
So Char is looking for Amuro in this final conflict. He's really dead set on getting Amuro, whereas his objective was to take out as many forces as he could, and he really isn't doing that. He's focusing on his own goals and aspirations. And
Amuro does seem like he wants to go fight Char as well, but unlike Char, he does prioritize the mission.
Yeah, he's kind of looking for Char. He's like he knows that Char's after him, so he's wondering when he's going to strike, but he's also doing other things at the same time. And Caecilia also realizes that Garen was the one who fired on their father, killing him, and she doesn't take too kindly to that, which is a little respectable actually, because I thought she was kind of like him. I thought she was going to align with him because she was ruthless, but no, I mean, she really respected her father and is blindsided by the fact that her brother would do that.
Yeah, she does not take that lying down.
That or she just wanted power too, and Garen was the one that took it over instead.
Yeah, well, it kind of seemed like she was really frustrated by the fact that he had done that, or not frustrated, like genuinely angry that he had betrayed their father.
Hmm. Basically, kind of started looking at him like a rat right there. And I don't blame her for what she did. Actually, I thought that was really good, and like you said, it was respectable and commendable. Because this guy, her brother, is just like taunting her. He's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do about it?" And he's like, "You're not gonna do shit." And then she's like, "Oh yeah," and yeah, she just straight shoots him in the back of the head.
Like the rat he is.
Yeah. So so Hitler in this show gets basically he takes it to the dome from the back. Like he's surprised that she actually had the guts to do it, and we're
Well,
just clapping.
he was almost
We're
daring.
just happy. Huh?
He was almost daring her to do it.
I
Yeah.
know. It's just like he's like, "You don't have the balls," and she's like, "Yeah, I do." And clap, you're gone.
She immediately takes charge of the operation.
However, not for long. She does realize pretty soon that it's not going her way.
Yeah, she's wondering what the heck Char is doing this whole time. Where's he at?
Where is he at, indeed?
He's looking for his fated rival, Amuro.
And he finds him, and they. I mean, this is when we see the both suits take heavy damage. Amuro takes out the torso portion of the Zeong, and we see that it can detach the head as like an escape pod.
Yeah,
And
the pilot area is in the head. When Amuro
yeah,
does shoot the torso, he does think that he took it out because that's where he thinks the pilot area is.
but the Zeong doesn't go down without doing some damage to the Gundam as well, taking out one of its arms
And the head.
and the head. And we see a chase down where Amuro's trying to find Char, and then we get the iconic Gundam scene that probably a majority of people who've seen anything to do with Mobile Suit Gundam, the original series, have seen this image. So Amuro puts his Gundam in autopilot,
And it just walks into a corridor, just shoots up and hits the Zeong head.
Is that the part that you were saying was pretty underwhelming in comparison to how hyped it was?
Yeah,
Well, the scene itself wasn't hyped up in the series. It's
But
just
like the fandom, basically.
yes, because almost Mark, you know this too. Like every time somebody gets an RX-78 model kit, they usually pose it in that scene. It is
yeah. There's a lot of dioramas of that scene. There's even figures of that scene, um, and
it,
promotional work with that scene in it. And I was expecting it to be some like grandiose, like he fires this like super cannon, destroying Char's mobile suit, but no, it's an autopilot, aims up in the air and
like
fires.
uh,
And he's
again
really quick in this.
again potentially compilation film
Botched it.
fuckery, you know. But this also seems like a scene that they wouldn't want to touch.
Yeah, definitely.
So it is an
Um,
overwhelming scene finally seeing it. Maybe it's better in
yeah.
the series, maybe who knows, but hey, it looks cool for the 1 second that you see it.
I think the much cooler scene is what happens right after when Amuro and Char get into a hand-to-hand combat.
So first they start
They
off with
like
shooting at each
they
other.
look at each other straight in the eyes. They gaze into their souls.
So they're in a gunfight. They've run out of bullets. They enter some little area that, for some reason, has a bunch of swords on the wall, and they begin to sword fight. I guess new types just know how to sword fight because I'm assuming this is the first time Amuro has used a sword. Outside,
I mean, to be fair, he's not doing that great.
He handles the beam saber well, though.
Actually, Amuro is doing fairly well against Char in the sword fight. He does get stabbed in the arm though, but Amuro does hit him in the head.
And
Hit
he would have died.
if it wasn't for the screen for the helmet, yeah.
Damn. Amuro in that plot armor. Thick.
Oh, Char's plot armor, really. So then Sayla comes in as everything's exploding around them. Char is still adamant about killing Amuro because he killed Lala. So of course he wants revenge. But Sayla just tells him that it was both of their faults and that they both have to live with it.
Yeah, and she also mentions that. I mean, she again reiterates that it's not him. I mean, he used to believe in his father's cause, and now he's a different person.
Char brings up that Amuro is dangerous to be left alive. I didn't really get why he said.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I assumed that.
But
I guess that was a future
Just
enemy.
like for his abilities or something. Just because he's proven to be so competent.
I guess yeah.
But at the same time, he doesn't really have like a strong will to fight. So
and Amuro takes his time to escape.
Basically, another explosion pretty much separates all of them.
Yeah. But I mean, this next scene is really cool to me. I liked how Amuro was jumped in the Gundam and was able to kind of pop the top off and the bottom. And
Right,
I
I forgot about this.
yeah, so they mentioned in part one, I think, that the Gundam and huh?
Early on in part one, they mentioned that a core booster, core fighter, can go inside both the Gundam, the gun tank, and the gun cannon.
Yeah, so they say that the midsection is actually a core booster on these suits. And it comes back because Amuro is able to disengage the head or the upper part and the lower leg portion of the Gundam and operate the core booster as like a little jet. And while he's doing that, Sayla and Char are discussing what's going to happen next. And Char makes his resolve that he's gonna take out the rest of the Zabi family.
The last remaining Zabi family.
Yeah.
He gets information from a soldier that's just dying. In his final breath, he tells them where Cresselia was going. So Char he picks up a bazooka and just heads on over. And boy is it brutal.
this is damn. He claps. He hits that headshot.
He blows the head right off Cresselia.
Yeah, so Cresselia Zabi's head you just see it you just see it fly off of her body as Char takes out his final act of revenge upon the Zabi family as the whole facility is crumbling down. I mean, it was a cool scene.
All right, so going back to Amuro, he gets his new type powers just get stronger, I guess. He's listening to Lala in his head, and she's like directing him how to use his powers, and then he's like psychically connected to everybody else.
Yeah, so everyone else on the white base is also in this facility as well. They had crashed, and they're just trying to fend off the Xeon forces as much as they pretty much can. And it comes down to them having to get out of their suits and use just conventional rifles to fend off the Xeon.
Pretty much just covering white base. And this also shows off that Hayato and Kai are pretty much full-on soldiers now.
Yeah, they're picking up rifles and helping each other and taking out soldiers left and right. I mean, they're putting in work.
Yeah. I also like when Kai's gun cannon gets shot down, he grabs a rifle just like, I hate hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, with a gun.
Yeah, so they're there covering white base as trying to get everybody else to get out. Amuro then starts directing that they need to leave or they're gonna die.
Yeah, through his like talking into their minds.
New type psychic power.
So I mean that's pretty cool. We kind of see
it's cool.
the extent of the new type powers because some of these people aren't new types and he's still able to talk to them.
Yeah.
But he's able to locate Sayla too with this ability because she's been separated and tell her to get back to the white base as fast as possible and guides her to where it is, and she's able to get on it, and everyone jumps back on board and escapes. Yeah, they escape on like a little raft, don't they? Like a life raft.
Yeah. So they're escaping. Baku's blowing up. Nobody knows where Amuro is. Nobody knows how to contact them. But the
And
kids, apparently they know.
yeah, so it seems like some of the kids are, especially the girl, is more in tune with her new type abilities or
Yeah,
has new type abilities.
one of the other kids mentions that she hears them better or something like that.
Yeah, and
They count down
uh,
and
God damn. Everybody on frickin' white base is a goddamn new type. It's crazy.
well, that is what the Federation thought.
And
yeah,
they were
but
like, right. It's funny.
Pretty much.
well,
They're lucky for them too, because they're like carrying.
well, if you think about it, I think the only people that are truly new types are Amuro, Sayla, and maybe that little girl. Um,
Yeah,
Mirai also
yes.
had like
But at
some.
the same time, they keep like harping on Mirai being one too, even though she's never confirmed actually being one.
yeah,
But it does look like she has some type of psychic link to the guys or to the rest.
Hmm.
yeah. So the kids are able to guide Amuro out, and he meets up with them, and
There's a bit of touching scene where Amuro, as you brought up a lot earlier, Amuro, his home, his dad he's far gone. He maybe he'll see his mom again. But this time around, he has a place where he can go back to, a place to call home.
yeah, the crew of the White Base has essentially become his new family.
Hmm.
And this is kind of where the story ends. A peace treaty is signed. It's been 1 year. 0079 is when the series started, and 0080 is where it ends. They're able to form some sort of peace, and that's kind of where part three ends, and the Gundam series ends as Mobile Suit Gundam, the first series ends.
Yeah, and a little bit after the post credits, we see a ship leaving Abaoku. If you look at one of the windows, you see a helmet that resembles Char's. So
Huh?
Char,
Shaw.
so 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 Char is alive. He didn't get taken out alongside Cristilio.
Yeah. And it leaves off as kind of like a continuation. But before we get into that, so what were your guys' overall thoughts on parts 2 and 3?
Well, I got a lot better impression from Amuro than I did with part one. He came off as a snot-nosed brat in the first part. Then in part two, him leaving with the Gundam was kind of dickish, but he had a reason to be. But after coming back, he was full on just a good guy, taking responsibilities, all that. I ended up really liking Amuro.
Jose?
Yeah, as a guy that used to like really shit on Amuro all the time, just kind of hearing everything that I did about him, and then just kind of like the only experience I had with Amuro prior to this was like just seeing his face and me not liking it, and and just hearing his portrayal in like one of the death battles, and you know, I definitely didn't really like him during that first part, but in the second part, he's just so much more mature and more he's growing on you, and you see him grow. You see him being more civil, not being like a little punk like he was in that first one. Like in the first one, he's just frustrating as all hell. He's been a little sharp. He thinks he's like tough guy, can do whatever he wants, and then just deserves to slap everybody, but then expect to not get slapped himself. He's just being a little taint. But in the second part, he's learning civility. You know, he's just learning to be civil. He's learning the aspects of war, and that not everything is so quite barbaric. And he's earning his conviction, and he's just kind of getting into place, and he's starting to be more mature and grow as a character significantly. And then even from the strides that he makes from 2 to 3, by the time that 3 rolls around, he's just like an all around good character. Like I really don't have any complaints about him so much in part 3. I didn't even have that many complaints about him in part 2. In part 2, he steals that thing. He steals the Gundam, but I couldn't even criticize him that badly because you know what, they're like talking crap about him and saying all this stuff like, oh, he needs to be punished, and I'm just like, yo, he barely did anything to warrant that, and you guys are like talking mad smack about him, gonna throw him under the bus and just feed him like a carcass to the birds. Like, that's messed up, especially after all that he does. But then, you know, he gets better. Part three rolls around. He's completely respectable. He's just having those moments. It's a time where you relish every moment that he gets in terms of interacting with other characters, like his confrontation with Char and how civil they were being with each other, and his interactions with Lala and how she was like really into him and he was really into her, but like they were new types, and so they're just kind of getting to know each other in that aspect, and all the relationships that he's built on throughout the series. Like, I'm not gonna lie, he still pretty much treats Frau Ball like crap, even up to then, but hey, it is what it is. But he grows on with every other character, and I don't really have a lot of complaints about him by the end of part three. He's battle hardened, he's respectable, he's mature, and he's just an all around good character. If anything, wait, are we still talking about Amuro specifically, or just overall?
If you want to get into the series, go ahead.
All right, cool. Well, anyway, I like the series. Part two was very action heavy, had little moments of breathing, like the breaks that would come in between the moments with Kai, and just like characters and that are kind of often like somewhat support. Well, they're more supporting characters, obviously, but I was even gonna go as far as to say like background characters, but not even all of them are really like. I can't think of anybody that's specifically a background character. Everybody gets their moment to shine in some way, whether it's Rio Jose protecting Amuro and giving his life and having a moment of glory for him and just being a thug, or if it's Matilda and just going out with what she believes in, or if it's Mariah. I'm just kidding. No, Mariah is just she devolved. She earned negative points for that crap that she pulled with frickin' what's his face again? What is his name again? Slager. Yeah. Slager is just good. He got good later on because he died, so we didn't have to worry about him anymore. Um, and you know what, Brian Noah kind of actually became more of a somewhat background kind of character. He didn't stand out as much as he did in the first part, especially the first part. But you know what? He was still overall kind of solid, and I liked his interactions with Mirai, although limited. They were good interactions, and when he was starting to really like her, it was kind of cute, kind of endearing. I felt like they did him a little bit dirty with making Mirai feel for that other douche, but hey, you win some, you lose some, and he bounced back. He was leading White Base, and White Base was just as the crew as a whole, they were just pretty wholesome, and they had their convictions, they had their hopes, their ideologies, and every character in it has their arc, and plenty of good moments that come and go, mostly come because they all end up in a pretty good place. They all end in a satisfying way. So part three rolls around. It's a part two and three. They have good action. Overall, I really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed part two and three, and it really gets me looking forward to whatever comes next with Gundam.
So overall, my thoughts on the part 2 and 3 films for Gundam were that they were pretty good. I really enjoyed episode or movie 2. I thought it advanced Amuro's character a lot, and I thought it brought more light onto some of the other characters in the White Base, specifically Kai. We got some interaction, some character deaths that were important and meaningful and actually impacted the character development and story. And we also got to see some new suits, which are always cool to see, specifically Char's Akai and the gyms. In part 3, we also saw some new suits, the Zeong and the Gelgoog. We saw some more of the zombie family that we really didn't see in the other two parts. The other family members, Degwin's kids, how Giran is ruthless and relentless, and Char's full betrayal. And part 3 was really exciting. I sat through most of it on the edge of my seat, really interested and engaged, and the character developments that we saw were really, really good. Amuro's character development, he becomes a very adept pilot, and some new characters like Lala Soon are introduced, which give us some more light on new types, which was much needed because up to this point we really didn't know what they are or what they could do.
We still
really don't, but we were able to see why they're so revered, kind of, by other people, or potentially revered and
scared of.
Yeah, so this overall 2 really good parts, and I can see now why people talk highly of Gundam, specifically this first part, why so many people enjoy it, and why a lot of people like Amuro, because up till watching this, I didn't really have an opinion on Amuro, and I was really curious as to why a lot of people really, really, really liked him as a character, because when you first start part 1, you do not see any of this, and he's pretty unlikable, but this series is really good at developing characters. So overall, if you haven't seen these 2 movies or the series as a whole, I'd recommend watching them, and I'd probably recommend watching the series, even though I wasn't able to watch it right now. I feel as though enough was left out, or potentially left out, to where it actually mattered. So if we were able to get a hold of those, I would like to go back and potentially make another episode on what was left out and if it really impacted the story, which version we would recommend watching. But that will come when that comes. So overall, recommend watching Mobile Suit Gundam.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, it holds up pretty well.
Yeah, there are some animation hiccups, but yeah, it's
Oh
good.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you see all those still frames, and it kind of makes the series look real silly. Like the Gundam with the weird head and giant head, skinny head, all these things. But I didn't see that a lot. I don't know if that's just the movie cut, but they did a good job of hiding it if it is.
Also, a lot of the background images, all the shots of space, the shots of the cities, still gorgeous.
Yeah, like the whole time of the during that portion where they were having the funeral for the soldiers after that confrontation where Ryu, Jose, and Matilda die. Yeah, the background in that place looked really nice, and you just gotta appreciate the art style. Honestly, it's pretty good.
All right, guys. So that's the end of Mobile Suit Gundam, but we will be back with Zeta Gundam, the continuation of the Gundam series and the Universal Century timeline next, and we will be dividing that into 4 parts. So
right. Zeta does have compilation films as well, but after going through these, the series makes a lot more sense to do. So we get the full experience, and there's nothing cut out.
Yes. So join us next time for Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam.